Hello and welcome to Retro Reviews, my channel where I review my favorite retro video games of all time as well as some modern releases I have recently finished. Today I'm going to be doing a part 2 to my Star Fox 64 review that I posted last week because I figured out after I was editing my video on the review that I had not played a significant portion of the game. I had played one route and there were multiple routes, and my only criticism of the game in my review that I talked about was that it was too short. I put an addendum at the end of that review to say, hey, I actually didn't play a lot of these levels, and I got a lot of encouragement to play them from the comment section, and I was planning on doing it anyway. So here are my full thoughts on Star Fox 64. If you missed the part 1, you can go watch that. If not, you can just watch this one. Either way is just fine with me. So let's talk about Star Fox 64, what it does well. I'll do a quick recap of my review. It's very, very fun and fluid. They did a very good job of designing these ships to work in a three-dimensional space. Aiming is very intuitive, shooting the weapons is very nice, locking onto enemies when you charge up your beam attack is very good, the banter between characters is phenomenal, like the writing is really superb, and really just the flow of the game works so well, and playing through an entire run feels really smooth and seamless. Now, what I did not know about this game prior to reviewing it, and after finally figuring it out, is that there are 3 paths that you can take in this game, and the way that you beat certain levels determines where you go on that path. So if you just do the bare minimum, you will go on the easy path. I started off on the easy path myself in my first playthrough of the game, and I ultimately ended up toward the end of the medium path because you can advance or digress between paths. You can go from the easy to the medium. You also can go from the hard path to the medium path. So there's lots of variation on how your run through can play out, which is very nice. My first run through, I started off in the easy path, probably played the first 4 or so levels, but once I got to the Starwolf fight, if you beat Starwolf and his team before the bomb goes off on this ship that you're trying to defend them from, if you stop them before the bomb goes off, you advance to the medium path, which is what I ultimately did. If you fail that, you end up on the easy path. You can do other things. I think it's fairly hard to just stay on the easy path the whole time. Failing again in another mission sends Slippy down to like a planet. He gets captured, you have to go after him. There's a lot that has to go wrong for you to stay on the easy path. So experiencing those levels is actually a little bit of a challenge to be like, well, I'm just gonna have to do like really poorly on some of these levels, which is really funny. The medium path is very fun as well. There are lots of great levels. The introduction of Kat as a character, which is really cool to see her interactions with Falco. I think the medium path is exceptionally fun, but the hard path is easily the hardest path, obviously, and the most rewarding as well. I'll go over the hard path in depth here because I think it was the most fun. So to get to the hard path off the first area, you have to do some random things. There's a couple things you have to do. And this applies to other levels too, and other ways to get to like alternate paths and get to alternate secret bosses and such like that. In this specific part, to get to the hard path from the first level, you need to save Falco from 3 enemy ships on his tail. You have to stop them from taking him out of the equation. And then you have to fly through 7 rings. I think it's 7, I'm pretty sure, that are like over water. It's like little rounded rock crevices. And your gamer brain should instinctively think, that looks like a fun thing to fly through. And then, oh, there's another one. So if you follow that little gamer intuition, you should be able to do this. But it doesn't come super naturally. There's stuff like this that it's just like maybe a little bit intuitive, but you just kind of have to guess or follow a guide like I did to save a little bit of time. But I found this to be very fun. You get all 7 of the circles and you move on. Falco finds a secret path. He says, hey, follow me. He goes through a waterfall that you didn't know was a secret path before. You go on to an alternate route, and bada bing, bada boom, you have this secret boss, and you finish the level and you move on to the hard path. Now, what's cool about the hard path is you can fail at certain points and go down to the medium path and get the normal ending. The easy path and the medium path both end at the same point, which is, I guess, spoilers here for a very old video game. You get to fight Andros. Once you beat the first phase of him, you find out that it was an android the entire time. Beating that phase will have him laughing maniacally, and it looks like you didn't quite. I should have keyed into that after my first playthrough of the game. Should have figured out, oh, that's not the true ending. I just didn't really think much of it at the time. So that gives you the ending for the medium or easy paths. To stay on the hard path, you not only have to succeed in these levels, but you have to do it all in one go. If you ever drop down to the medium path, that's it. You're toast, which is kind of cool. It makes it more challenging. It gives you more space. I did see a comment talking about the 3DS version having like save points and everything between levels, which is kind of cool. On the original one, it's just like you have to do your one run and that's it. So I don't know if you could like cut out, go back, and then try it again. I'm guessing that's the way it works. I have not played the 3DS version. I would like to get it at some point and see the differences, see what they added and everything. But staying on the hard path is part of the challenge. And so, like, one of the levels, I think it's the directly next one, you have to get 100 points in the level. And each ship that you take down is 1 point, typically. Some other things you can get, like, bonus points for getting, I think, multiples in a row, or getting, like, special ships will give you bonus stuff. At the very end, you have, like, 2 mini bosses. They'll give you 3 points apiece. And then a final boss that will give you 10 points. So you have to end with, like, 84 points going into the final boss fight in order to clear it. It's pretty difficult. It took me 4 or 5 tries to get this one on, because I had to figure out, like, where ships are coming from, make sure I was getting enough of them each time, really paying attention to everything that was going on level. It's very cool. You have some really fun levels as well, some really creepy ones. You have one underwater where you have limited light, which is a terrifying combination in a video game. Hate that so much, but that level was very fun. The boss fight at the end was very enjoyable. You have some other levels, like you fight Starwolf and the other paths, and he and his team are very fun. I think they're the best fight in the entire game. But in the hard path, when you finally get to them, they are the barrier between you and fighting Andross, as expected, but they have upgraded ships this time around. They have much better ships with better mobility. They have better maneuvering capabilities. If you try shooting them and locking onto them, sometimes they will, like, roll out of the way. They'll do, like, a little loop. Or they'll, like, evade you after hitting them one or two times. They're much more challenging and definitely the best fight in the entire game. I thoroughly enjoyed fighting Starwolf, and beating them was incredibly enjoyable. And again, if you fail at that point, oh no, I didn't quite make it to the end. I dropped down to the medium path, and suddenly I have to go back and do it all over again. I think the gameplay loop is exceptionally fun in that regard, because it forces you to play exceptionally well for an extended period of time. Fighting Andross at the end of the hard path gets you the true ending. You fight him. Once you beat him, it reveals his brain. You can tell this is the real version, since this is actually him. He says, "I'm the only one with the brains to rule this galaxy," and you have to fight off his eyes that are, like, connected with electricity to his brain. It's very hard to maneuver here. I don't think the brain fight is particularly fun. I don't think it's awful either. I think it's just okay. It's a little bit mid. But being the eyes, then you have to outmaneuver and flank the brain. It took me a lot of time to figure out how to do this. But once I got it, I was there. It made enough sense. I figured it out, beat him, and he says he's taking you down with him and starts to blow up the whole system here that you're in. And all of a sudden, your dad, James McLeod, starts leading you out, which is a huge shocking twist, because James is supposed to be dead. And he leads you out. He says, "Follow me." He tells you how proud of you that he is. And it's this really special moment as everything's blowing up around you. You're maneuvering your way out of this place, and you get out, and he's gone. And you can only assume that either he's somehow alive and just vanishing to thin air for no good reason, or that's just his spirit leading you on. And I think that's a really beautiful moment. I saw someone in the comment section talk about this moment, and it did not disappoint. I loved that ending. I think it was absolutely phenomenal. So this game has a ton of content, and the way that you play it will determine lots of different ways that you can go about getting to the end. If you do the hard path and get the true ending, that's one route. But if you have the hard path and you drop down to the medium path, and drop down to the easy path, you can get a varied number of, like, courses all in a row. Some only lead to one level, like it does not matter what you do, all you have to do is complete the course to make it to the next section, but most of them have alternate ways to get to different paths, which I think is just really, really cool. This game is exceptional. The banter in this game is out of this world. The writing is so good. The interactions that they have with different characters and the amount of situations that you have, like if you accidentally hit your character, one of your own teammates, you get, like, different dialogue. They'll cycle through different options. There's lots of stuff for saving them, like saving Falco, for instance. Sometimes be like, "Gee, I'm saved by Fox." Very sarcastic, because he's such a hot shot, wants to do things himself. Sometimes he actually shows some gratitude, but usually he's very snarky, and it's great. Slippy and Peppy have some really funny interactions. It's just awesome the way they put this all together. And then pair that with exceptional flying. I can see why people love the Star Fox franchise. I'm now one of them. I totally get it. I can see why people just really want more of this series, especially like a true sequel to something like Star Fox 64. I think this one is an easy platinum rank. I think I judged it too quickly, clearly, because I'd only experienced maybe 33% of the game. After playing pretty much everything that there is to offer in this game, I just found a really enjoyable experience. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one.